You guys ready? Yes, sir. All right, it's 7 o'clock. If you'd all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Play ball. We've got a quorum. Good evening and welcome. No offense, but I want you guys to do a little rain dance because we could really use it. All right. So, got our quorum, we've got our call to meeting, we've done our pledge, approval of the minutes. These would be the town council minutes of July 1st. What's the pleasure of the council?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of July 1st.
We've got a motion to approve by Tom. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jim. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the minutes have been approved. On to the public meeting. We have the Host Future Fund Investment. Jenny and company?
Yes, this is our annual summary from Huntington Bank of our Host Future Fund investment account. This is the revenue that we receive from waste management that we invest quarterly with Huntington Bank. And so Kathy Elrod and Tom are here to do a presentation. It's our annual presentation to the council. And included in your council packets were the summary, the last statement.
Hello, thanks. We're not going to go through that necessarily. We're going to keep it a little bit more simple than that. You guys have a handout. I apologize that it's not up on the board. Yes, it's the one-pager. Just wanted to give a summary of what it's been doing for the last year. Has it been hitting its goals? And what it looks like for going forward. So the portfolio has two goals, an absolute target of 4.5% and then a combined benchmark target of 3.7%. And that's on the top there. Year to date, we earned 10.75% and since inception 5.21. So outperforming those two benchmarks, which is great. So what does that translate into? Year to date, it's up over $460,000 and then since inception, over $470,000. All that keeping in compliance with the IPS statement that you guys have provided with us. So that's all I got. Keeping it simple. If you guys have any questions or want to know anything further, hope that answers everything for you in terms of the summary.
Yeah, and for the council, we met beforehand with Mike, the council president, and Mark Morgan, town manager, to bring him up to speed. So we did sit down tonight with Mike and go through the account so that you guys know that he did view everything.
Jim also sits on that committee. So we do have a council presence there.
Our Host Future Fund committee is here. Greg Turnay sits on the committee. And Brandon Lawson, did Brandon have to leave?
Oh,
I didn't see him. Oh, you're blending in. And Tony Hamlin. Sorry.
You're a blender.
You're a blender. And Tony Hamlin sit on the Board of Finance for us. So I want to thank them for their service as well.
Huntington has done a great job. You're outperforming. And we do appreciate that because funding is going to be very important down the road. Any questions?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
Appreciate your efforts. And the committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, on to the EJP Award, Water Department. Jimmy?
Okay, I'm here tonight to introduce Lou Townsend. Lou is currently the chairman of the NES Section Safety Committee, and he has a presentation for us.
Good evening, thank you. Once again, like Jimmy said, my name is Lou Townsend. I am the committee chairman for the American Water Works Association for the state of Indiana. And the town of Danville is my account, being that I work for EJP and I supply all the water materials for the town. I have been working with Jimmy and the boys for upwards of almost 9 years now, and I see how well they operate in taking care of safety. So I nominated them for the National Wendell Ledoux Safety Award. There's only 4 of them given through the whole country, and the town of Danville did win this year, and I am here to present the award to the town of Danville and the water department.
All right.
Thank you.
a picture? Thank you.
We get the boys up here.
I'll take one too for our Facebook page.
Send it to Betty.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You guys want to go out by the water fountain?
No.
Hey, Jimmy, you might want to take that wrapper off, because that'll show a lot better. Who's watering? Jim, aren't you watering?
Yeah.
Those are your boys. Yeah, get right next to that Blanton house. Scooch down so you're out of the light. Go, Matt. Matt, move down some more. Don't look at them, just keep moving. Lou, thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Very good. Well, congratulations. That's awesome. All right, pay ordinance for the CSI police. Jenny?
This is to just put into alliance with the rest of our administrative staff. You'll remember that you approved this salary amendment at the last meeting, and the hours needed to be changed to 35 hours to match our administrative staff. So we adjusted the hourly rate to provide for the adjustment of the total number of weekly hours. So that's the only change. There's no total dollar amount change. It's the exact same that you guys approved. I just needed to change the 35 hours. It was 40, and I changed it to 35 to match the administrative staff.
This cuts
Makes
down,
sense.
This cuts down on the overtime is what we're trying to accomplish.
My question is, because we changed the hours, do we need to suspend the rules to pass this on the first time?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll need a motion if we want to approve this tonight, otherwise it'll stand as introduced.
Move to suspend.
Got a motion to suspend rules. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second. All in favor, further discussion? None? All of those in favor of suspending rules signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, the rules have been suspended, so we can pass it on this reading. What's the pleasure of the council?
I'll make a motion to pass ordinance 20, 2019.
All right, Mr. Wins made a motion to approve ordinance number 20. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second and a third. Further discussion? All of those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance 20 has been passed. Thank you for
Thank you.
those. Okay. Abatement adjustment. Hi, Jeff. How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Great, thank you.
Good evening, council. Let's start off with the Justice Rental project. What we're doing here is just amending the confirmatory resolution and the SB 1, and all we're amending to it is the estimated start date and completion date. On the confirmatory resolution, on the last page, we originally had that the full assessment would not start until January 1st of 2020. And because of delays in getting finances together and some of the estimates came back a little higher than what they were originally estimated, they've done some work to get those back in line, and all of this has taken about a year. So we are now requesting that that full assessment date doesn't start until January 1st of 2001. But the tax abatement is the same as what it was originally. It's a standard 10-year abatement.
Okay. So,
That's 2021.
yeah. Okay. Does everybody understand what we're doing here? We're just making a simple correction to the start date. Does this require a council vote? Okay.
And we do have Justice
All right.
Properties here, if anyone
Okay.
has any
Any questions about Justice rental property?
We kind of get a summary of that since it's been a period of time.
Where you guys are at with the project?
For the record, my name is Walt Justice with the Justice Companies. So, yeah, we put together our project based upon our original timeline. Long story short, we came up with a new design for our senior living model, in this case, Woodland Terrace of Danville.
Mm-hmm.
So from an architectural design timeline perspective, it took a little longer in that respect. And then once we went through and had our final construction plans completed through the bidding process, as Jeff said, it took more time than what was originally anticipated. So all in, we have all our numbers completely locked up right now. Financing is in place, and we anticipate starting actually within the next couple of weeks. So we're full speed ahead. To date, it's still a $25 million plus project. We're still committal to 50 plus jobs, and equating to around an average of $1,750,000 a year with all in. So that is, we're excited about that. It's going to be a quality community. It's going to be very indicative of what we've done in New Palestine and Woodland Terrace of Carmel. So this will be our third Woodland Terrace brand, if you will. So we've stayed very close to the market and so forth, and made sure that everything's in place and working with the local municipalities. We have our what we call pre-con or construction meeting this Wednesday, and typically what that is then is the launch board for getting started thereafter. So we'll have all the pertinent parties to the table on Wednesday to make sure we have all the most important things worked out between the fire department and so on and so forth, and then we'll be on our way. But we're excited about it. It's, we chose Danville for a number of reasons. We really believe it's going to be a thriving community in years to come. We like the submarkets of Indianapolis. We have a number of employees that live out on the west side between Indianapolis and Danville.
They're welcome to move to the town of Danville.
Absolutely, yeah. So, and that's one of the reasons we're here, is that my chief operating officer is not far from here, and so she introduced us to Danville. So anyway, that's it.
How many residents will be involved?
All in today, is there 129? Okay, so 114 plus. Okay. So, and that's broken down. It is a licensed continuum of care. So we have the independent living cottages, and we also have integrated a number of independent living units within the main building. We do have the assisted living component, memory care, and then the contracted physical therapy. So, thank you. So that gives you the whole layout. And again, that the way that's drawn right there, it's again verbatim on the landscape plan and the overall layout. So that is exactly the footprint of the building, the number of cottages that you see immediately to the east of that building. Mm-hmm.
So our former planner had visited one of your facilities and had very positive things to say about that.
Thank you.
And I believe that will follow through this project.
Thank
down
you.
Danville. Plus, I'm kind of getting up there in age. Need those services, or my kids might decide that I need those services. So, any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
All right, so we have this amended confirmatory resolution regarding the application of the Justice Rental Properties with a change of date. To start January 1st, 2021. What's the pleasure of the council?
Motion that we approve the amendment.
All right, I have a motion to approve the amendment. Do I have a second?
Second.
I've got a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Amendment passes.
Very much.
Thank you. While you're up here,
Wait 1 second, please. Lisa, do you have the original for signature, or do you want me to use mine?
Yours would be great.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to double check.
All right.
Thank you.
On all of the things that require signature, if you could take it out of your packet, that would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good. All right, we have a request for tax abatement, Pig Lot,
Yes.
LLC Resolution 12, 2019. Jeff, talk to us a little bit about this.
Sure. Pig Lot LLC, DBA is Hawkeye Storage. This is local resident Dwayne Lane. He is looking to build 6 new buildings for large storage usage. And this is west of town, east of town. In some area that is in the process of being annexed into the town. And he came to us asking if there was any incentives that could possibly be available. He is looking to invest $3 million in this project. He currently has 5 employees, and because of this project, he will add an additional 4 employees to his business, and with additional $104,000 of salaries. As I've talked with the Mark Morgan and Lisa Trene about what we should offer, we came to the consensus that we thought a 5-year tax abatement would be a good offer.
Just a note on my copy here. On the second page, second line, it shall be limited to a time period of 10, but then it has parentheses 5, so that needs to be struck.
I don't know who typed this.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay,
Yeah.
that's all right. I was going to say I hadn't seen it.
One of those ones I missed.
I understand.
unfortunately.
wanna
I
make sure
totally
that-
understand.
yeah.
I didn't know.
I just
Okay.
want to make sure that we're clear that this is a 5-year abatement.
And just to give you an idea on a 5-year abatement, with tax abatement over that 5 years, it's expected to pay about $158,000 in taxes over that 5-year period. And then after the tax abatement rolls off, it's expected to pay just under $80,000.
Okay. So, what's the pleasure of the council?
Make a motion that we approve the 5-year abatement for the Dwayne Lane project.
Second.
I mean, we can go ahead and pass this.
Yeah.
First time around.
It's a resolution.
Yeah, just double check.
Well, and
Okay.
this is just a declaratory resolution, so
Right.
next town council will have a public hearing and confirmatory resolution.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the declaratory resolution 12, 2019. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Resolution passes. Up for bio response?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, in front of you, the CF1, which is the compliance form for bioresponse. This is on their original building. This is their 2018 CF1 form. Originally, they estimated to be at 17 employees with an annual combined salary of about $1.3 million. And eligible real property improvements, they expected the building to cost about $800,000. The actual numbers right now are he has 14 employees, and that's not counting. It's not counting the employees that are in there with the race team that his son has also brought into that facility. And of those 14 employees, he's paying $889,000 in salaries. And the building ended up costing $1,096,062. And as you know, he's also looking to build a second building and continue to grow his business and along with his son's business in those 2 buildings. My recommendation is that we pass this. Any questions?
Okay. Any questions for Jeff on this?
I'll make a motion to pass the bioresponse tax abatement.
We've got a motion to approve the tax abatement.
I believe the proper motion would, because the abatement has already been passed, it would be to find that Bioresponse LLC is in substantial compliance with their tax abatement.
What Jules said.
Okay, so we have a motion to accept the CF1 that the property owner is in substantial compliance. Do I have a second? Second. A second and a third. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
You're batting
I think you're done for me tonight.
Jeff, thank you for all you do for us.
Thanks, sir. Capital expenditure, wastewater. Gary, how are you tonight? Great. What you got for us?
Last year, you authorized the Stormwater Department to purchase a new camera system that we share. And this year, we're asking for a smaller robotic tractor to get into smaller pipes and allow for redundancy. In case the bigger tractor needs to be worked on, we can keep going with the smaller one.
Okay, and I see it's been signed off by Mark as well as Jenny, so there's money in the account.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? That's a good idea. And what's the pleasure of the council? Shall we approve this capital expenditure for $11,943?
Make a motion that we approve the capital expenditure for $1,100 small system.
All right, we've got a motion to accept the expenditure request. Do I have a second?
What's the number on that?
It's just a department expenditure request.
So it's
$11,943.
11,000, not 1,100.
Yeah, $11,943.
Okay.
Got a second?
Sure.
Okay, I've got a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of this expenditure request signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
How long will it take for you to get the camera?
I would guess just a couple weeks.
Great. And you have a presentation for us.
Yes, you're probably wondering, with it being as dry as it is, why we're talking about infiltration. We just finished our flow study. The engineers are currently doing flow modeling of our collection system. So in a couple of months, we'll be coming in with a lot of data about our system. So I wanted to bring Brett in. He's the one that goes out to the schools and talks to the kids. And I wanted him to talk about the homeowner, the customer's point of view, what they see on their side, on their properties, and kind of draw that line between where the town ends, where we begin. It's kind of a gray area when you get into easements, underneath roads. So we'll get to a slide where we'll include your thoughts. And we've also spoken to the attorney, so he may want to weigh in as well. And just a conversation, basically. I will let Brett take over.
Good evening. So I'm going to try to keep this pretty short and sweet. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with some of the processes and issues that we have in the wastewater world. So that's kind of why we're here. I'm just going to talk about some infiltration and inflow, specifically what they are, the impacts on the collection system, and then the impacts on the wastewater treatment plant itself. The current ordinance, as far as responsibilities go, given an example house right now, and then some thoughts moving forward that suggest, there again, conversation here. So infiltration, it is the seepage of groundwater into the sanitary sewer system. Seepage most commonly occurs through defective pipes. This is like an old clay pipe you can see at the joint. So those roots can get in, water can get in, so we typically end up dewatering areas from issues like this. And that's in small lines, which should be the laterals feeding up to the house, as well as our main lines most commonly in the older parts of town. Inflow is basically stormwater that enters into the sanitary sewer system at points of direct connection to the systems, i.e. the big ones are really going to be downspouts and sump pumps, drains and driveways, or basement stairwell drains. Not too many of those around anymore, but some impacts on the collection system specifically. On rain events, we can take on all this extra water, and so that reduces capacity in the collection system, i.e. potential overflows. We don't normally have many overflows during dry weather due to just normal backups and things like that. For the most part, since I've been around, I would say probably 95% of the overflows that occur for us are during wet weather events, and that's just because we take on so much water our system can't handle it. An example of this is one 8-inch sanitary main line can handle flows from up to 200 domestic homes. It only takes 8 sump pumps running at full capacity or 6 homes with downspouts connected to that line that will cause overflows. Obviously impacts the environment, receiving streams negatively. Impacts on the wastewater treatment plant, specifically capacity. We're talking about growth. Okay, we have something that we call the 90% rule, which IDEM imposes on us, which means if we reach 90% of our design capacity at the treatment plant 4 or more months out of a 12-month period, they could potentially impose a sewer ban, which means no new connections, no new tie-ins. All right, so that limits growth. Major electric costs between the lift stations and then at the plant, it costs money to treat that water that comes in. Not to mention the possible overflows that happen along the way. Looks bad reporting those to IDEM. But just some example. On any given day, okay? You can see on the 14th of this past month, about 1.1, like I said, normal. And the 15th, we ended up having a gully washer, and you can see the corresponding influent. We ended up treating 3.3 million gallons that day. And then from there on, you can see, get a couple more rain events, and then by the time I compiled this, we still weren't back to a normal day. So we have all that extra cost in treating the extra water. It's a hassle. Big expense. All right, so the current ordinance, you guys probably get this probably 3-4 times a year, gets sent out in the water bill, right? So you, for the most part, have read this, know what it talks about. But this basically says, there in red, that if you are knowingly discharging clear water to us, i.e. sources of those downspouts, sump pumps, things like that we can charge you $100 a month. Okay. Just maybe a quick show of hands. How many of you guys would actually come forward and say, you know what, go ahead and start charging me $100 a month because I can't really afford to pay Joe to come in and fix this for me? That's kind of what we're dealing at right now. The ordinance says that we can start charging, but we just haven't yet.
Before you go on, right?
Yes, sir.
With this, I need to make a disclaimer. This is my neighbor's house. I live just to the east of this property. Okay. I did not know that they were making this presentation using this property tonight. But full disclosure, I do live next to this property.
Which I just want to point out, it's on the south side of town, which is in one of the older areas. And there again, most of the I&I come in those older areas where there's clay pipes and things like that. So just kind of pretty quickly, really this is, I mean, pretty easy picture. You know, this house was supposedly built in brought in 1947. It was a show house. I guess Doc Gibbs, I believe.
Yes.
Was the one that used to live there. The house looks friendly and welcoming from the exterior, but boy, does it have a terrifying secret below it. All right. And the secret's not the autopsies that Dr. Gibbs performed in the basement of this house, but rather the old infrastructure beneath the floors that have been flooding the sanitary sewer system for decades. All right, so when we talk inflow, I'll probably walk over and explain this a little better, okay? What we have here, storm drain. Hard to see here, but the driveway to this house. drain is right on the outside. Driveway. First. Us after. So we are. But every bit of water that goes down that outside drain is coming to us. And I will move on, as well as there is an outside stairwell drain right there on the left side. And then on the right, that's actually one of the inside basement drains that's faulty and is for some reason tied into that outside drain. So problem solved, not so much. I got to give the lady credit. She really tried and threw some money at fixing, or thought she'd fix the issue, I guess. $15,000 to be exact. She paid this company to come in and install a perimeter drain all around the basement. But what they didn't do was tie in the basement drains, floor drains in the basement, and that's because it's illegal to go to storm, technically. So she paid these guys to come in and do all that money, and unfortunately, they were thinking that it was the sanitary sewer system backing up that kept flooding them. And then only till we came out and did some investigative work, verified, hey, you got a major issue going on with this drain here. Well, that 3.85-inch rain event that we had that I showed you guys, she ended up flooding herself again in the basement. But the long and the short of that is all that water that floods her in the basement eventually goes down those drains and comes to us, which is part of those extra millions of gallons that we see on these rain events. So moving forward, I'd like to think that we can spearhead a movement for other municipalities and be an example by understanding that it's not just the homeowner's problem. It is our problem as well. Like I mentioned a few slides back, there is a cost associated with treating this water. Okay. If we are more willing to work with them, they're more willing to come forward and say, you know what, my sump pump's connected. What can we do? Let's figure something out. And chances are, this is just personal here, chances are a large percentage of the current homeowners are not the ones who connected these illegal tie-ins. Unfortunately, they inherited the problems when they purchased the home, just kind of being ignorant and not having any idea because no one has educated them. Right? So our suggestion moving forward would be we would like to propose that maybe late fee funds be allocated to pay for work separating I&I sources on private properties to better help the customer and the town of Danville. We would like to recommend that a waiver be used to release the town from any kind of liability. And each situation is completely different. Footage-wise, every situation, every house is different. That said, we're just wanting to know our limits on that.
Moving forward at a time, it's usually about one house a year that reaches out.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to add, I mean, in the last 6 years since I've been here, we've found and raised 200 manholes around town. Short-staffed, overworked, in the past, I get it. But that's 20% of our collection system that was lost, okay? With the new asset management program that we did, we're 100% accessible at this point, which allows us to start targeting and looking for these sources of I&I, which hasn't really been a focus until now. But when we start talking capacity and plan expansions and master plans or collection system upgrades, I&I here on these rain events is a major contributor. So, things to think about. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say, but just wanted to, I guess, express how much of an issue this is in our world and how it really affects us. So.
What kind of cost are you looking at on either side of this, homeowner and/or towns, your department?
That really varies. A small house on a quarter-acre lot might only be a couple $100 to get them flowing.
For their cost?
The complete cost of the project.
Really?
Yeah, pipe is inexpensive. We only pay a per-foot cost doing digging. Sometimes we can get the DPW to help with road repairs, kind of as a town effort. Bigger lots, bigger houses, a lot more complex. If there's 2 or 3 houses tied onto a line, then we have to do a bigger trench in the road, more pipe, more footage. It can be quite expensive.
Talking sump pumps, we have talked with Barry in the past. Really willing to help. Outlet.
Providing an outlet can be very expensive. That's something that Barry does on the stormwater side.
Have you talked to other towns for the same problem?
A lot of other towns truly just will find you. Some municipalities have the ordinances or whatever. I know a few of them that the sale of a house, gotten it so that they are able to get access before the house sells to inspect plumbing. There again, it says we can charge you.
The private companies would definitely not assist residents. Whereas, as a town, our thinking is we can, but you may want to speak to our attorney, see what his thoughts are.
If I could chime in, since you mentioned me, a couple of things to keep in mind when you're looking at the costs is infiltration is a real issue in most municipalities. And the reason why it is if you overload your wastewater treatment facility, that opens a door to IDEM coming in for regulation and penalty. So under IDEM regulations, if they decide to start penalizing a municipality for overflows, it can be $25,000 per occurrence. And when you look at a rain event, an occurrence is going to be how many of those manholes overflows like that. So you can have several occurrences that need to be reported in each rain event. So when you think about the possible penalties that arise out of that, you're talking about significant dollars that will have to be paid either by the utility or by the town itself, because it is not the citizens at that point that are overflowing it. It is the overflow of the system of the town and the utility. The issue with capacity, when you talk about that 90%, that's another thing to think about, because that's essentially, it's not money that the town is going to be estimating, but it's going to be costs that are passed on to the users. So if you have to do a plant expansion, you're going to have to take out a bond. And that bond is going to be built in. They're going to estimate how much that's going to cost and what that's going to do to your user rates. So you're going to have a fee study, a user fee study, to determine how much you're going to have to raise rates in order to pay for the expansion to occur. So addressing these infiltration issues is enormous in the process of keeping rates both down and then protecting the town itself from liability from the IDEM penalties and fees. So some costs going in this type of preventative measure could save both the town and the ratepayers a tremendous amount in the long run. Just food for thought. One example, Councilman Pato, you did ask about other towns. So in the town of Sheridan, they put in a whole new stormwater utility, $4 million worth that they had to do. So they came out with that stormwater utility, had the ERUs out there to determine the cost. So that's an additional $5 per resident for their stormwater fee to put that in. That has taken them down to about 15 penalties per rain event exceeding 1 inch to eliminating the problem. But it costs them millions of dollars to get that done. So each municipality has to look at the way that they do it in Sheridan. The other thing that they did was they sold their utilities. So they sold their water and stormwater, or water and wastewater utilities, because they did not have the money, because IDEM was going to make them increase their capacity as well. And so in order to put the stormwater utility to keep the infiltration issues down and to keep overflows from occurring, they imposed $5. And then based off the rate study, in order to expand the plant to the size that IDEM was going to require, it would have raised fees 105% on utilities. So they were gone from about $50 to $105 for water and.
With Indianapolis's Deep Rock Tunnel, they're trying to capture these overflows as well. I'm guessing their bills will be in the $90 range before they ever use a gallon of water. We're definitely lower on the cost side. Bit of flexibility, only so many houses that are doing this. Work with the people, get those sump pumps removed, downspouts removed. We're seeing a difference. Really your choice, your utility. We'll do whatever you want.
Any other thoughts?
Can you identify those houses?
It's pretty simple. If you see their gutter going into a pipe, it's going to come out somewhere. And we're pretty good at investigating.
Spotting that?
Yeah. It's
I've seen them in action.
We've got the Mill Street house. We've got a solution. They've called in locates, hired contractors, process. So a lot of times people will take care of their own, but sometimes when it's shared in the streets, it's real complicated, gray areas. No two are alike. We just want some flexibility, leeway, and keep knocking on doors.
Those sump pumps are hard to identify.
Right.
Across basically.
When we're working in the sanitary, they usually come on about every 15 seconds. So if we're sitting there watching punch flow stops, 15 seconds later, we know it's a sump pump.
What's your best guesstimate of violations, number of violations still out?
I'd say
Swag.
in the hundreds. But we have thousands of customers.
More or less the older. Plastic pipe nowadays.
Well, the newer houses are plumbed correctly, whereas the older ones are sometimes.
Well, I will say that anytime we can solve a problem, especially with the infiltration, because that's going to cost treated. I like the idea that you're looking at this basis, rectify the problem, our citizens, improve our system. To fix these problems. You're helping, that seeing the overflows from the manhole in the yard. And you guys, DM comes out and Kansas, and $25,000 per manhole. What's the pleasure of the council here? Should we let our water guys identify on an individual basis? Us?
You really just need a consensus from you, but Jerry spoke with me. I think this is an exceptional program. I think it's going to be good for our citizens. So just do this by consensus, and his department manage it. So they generate their own staffs for it.
I have consensus to allow wastewater to do their job.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brett.
Oh, Jerry, while you're up here.
That's basically my report. We did pass our annual toxicity test, so the little microorganisms are doing good. I look at the creek every day, and it's just completely full of fish and life, and everything is good.
Good. Thank you. Any questions for Jerry? Thank you very much. All right, Water Department. Award-winning Water Department.
Oh, yeah, thank you, thank you. The, kind of on the master plan thing, we completed our first well on the west side of the creek, across the footbridge. That's completed. They started today on the second one. I assume once we get those holes punched in the ground, that we'll do some pump tests on them to clean them out, to go ahead and develop the well, get all the silt and stuff out, and then see about putting the monitoring devices on that. And like I talked with last time, hopefully DNR will be supplying the monitoring devices so we can, for ground level monitoring. Currently now, the static water level is about 40 feet. It's down with this dry period. We're pumping a lot of water. Naturally, the fair going on, they're using an exorbitant amount. We're keeping the tower 80, 90% full. Can't quite get it to shut off, but we're maintaining okay, and as long as we don't have any issues. As far as the progress on the water line out west, or out east, out by the fairgrounds, where plans are probably end of July, 1st August. We had some, we're still waiting on the easement to be signed by the fair board or whatever like that. The attorneys looked at it and had a couple of glitches apparently on there. They, I think they were thinking they were going to deed us over the land. We don't want a deed. It's an easement just to be able to put it in there. I think there was some confusion there. Hopefully they'll get that resolved out so we can move forward on that. As far as the water tank painting, Jenny had sent me contracts with Hendricks Regional.
Yes.
Plans are August to do that. The colors have been verified, so I think they're good with their green that they're going to have. Yeah,
They're
we
happy.
got the matching green that they want to do that. Hopefully that just takes about 30 days to take care of that and get that going, because hopefully we get some, like I say, we get some rain. Just kind of stressing conservation. I see a lot of people watering out there, got real green stuff. Don't have to water every day. That's the thing. You see watering every day, the same stuff. Watering during the heat of the day, that's the wrong time to do it. Early of the morning, and that's all you need to do. Maybe once every 2 or 3 days. We're getting bills that went out. We're getting complaints, high water usage. Oh, I only water 20 minutes a day. Well, I beg to differ on some of that. But, yeah, what they think was 20 minutes might be a couple hours.
And plus it adds up.
Well, it adds up, correct. Yeah, a little bit every day adds up to a lot. So just basically be water conscious. Naturally, when we get ready to pull the tower down for painting, we're going to put out some information. Please conserve, because we're basically going to cut our capacity 50% for our storage. And we don't want to have, we want to try to keep pumpage down.
How long will that be down?
At least probably 30 days on that. Probably the whole month of August, which usually is pretty dry and hot. And but we're going to make some adjustments on the other tank on control levels to kind of maintain more water in the tank at all times. instead of our normal levels that we do, because we got twice as much volume, but now we're going to be taking that volume out of service. And then once it's completed, we'll slow fill. If it takes a week and a half to fill, I want to do that, because if you fill it too fast, it's like creating a water main break. Everything's going to the least path of resistance, and you're going to drain everything else to try to keep up with that. So we'll control that when we do that. But that's pretty much all I have. Any questions from the council?
Questions?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and congratulations again.
Okay, thank you.
Police Department.
Good evening. In your guys' council packet, you'll find some highlights for the month. We went to a new case reporting system, so I'm going to change things up on the way we present our stats to you, just because of the new system's not going to allow me to do exactly like we have done for years. So I went with a little bit of a new format for you guys. Hopefully you like it. I'm just going to break down some of the actual highlights for you. The police department took 652 calls for service in June. We had 75 case reports, 60 arrests, and 7 OWI arrests. If you go through the next couple pages, I just kind of went through and highlighted some of the things we did in June, and you guys can flip through all that. If you have any questions, I'll take some here in just a few minutes. At the very end of the report, I'm going to start breaking down the stats for you guys in this different way here. Basically, it's going to give you the case report the officers take, and then you'll see in the outcome either it's going to be an arrest or a report, and then the follow-up will go to investigations. So that's kind of what the new format will look like. We had to start about middle of the month this month with this new system. We didn't really have a choice. Indianapolis went to this system, and because we get it for free, we piggyback on them, so we had to go with this as well. So this is something new for me and something new for you, so we'll work together. Hopefully I can get to where you guys like it. I would like to say that Police Fire Camp, we had our first annual camp. It was July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. I think it went very well, better than I expected for the first time. So it was very well hosted by everybody, and we had lots of support from the public, the business, some other people here in the room, Mr. Morgan, the Parks Department, and the Fire Department. It was a really good joint effort between both agencies and the Parks guys. So I'd like to take this time, we've got everybody on the board, a little token of appreciation and gift. Assistant Chief Roberts is going to come up. We're going to approach you real quick. I got some photographs for you. All the campers got a copy of this photograph, and they also got a challenge coin. We'll present one for all of you. This is the same thing our campers receive. Doing this every year.
Take out one. Yeah. Thank you. I have it hanging in my office. Thank you.
So hopefully this is something that we can continue to do. Every year this went real well. All the campers was presented with the same thing that you guys have. Like I said, in the future we hope to do this again. I'll take any questions you guys might have.
No, I'll just add that my daughter attended the camp and she loved it. She's so excited every day when she came home, and takes a lot to hold her attention, and she was enthusiastic and couldn't wait to go every day. So I appreciate everything you guys did, and I know it was a lot of work. So coming from a parent that had a child there, good job.
Thank you.
I've had nothing but great positive feedback. Great job, you guys. And I like the new way you're reporting. I like that a lot better.
Thank you.
I got the opportunity to go down and see the guys working with the campers, and both the police and fire, and that was really cool. And Chris was there as well. I'll let him speak to that.
I had a blast. I did our Hendricks Power Safety presentation for the kids. I know it was extremely hot, but
a little bit.
They seemed to enjoy it, and like, to reiterate, I mean, you guys did a fantastic job. So it was very well organized.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I've got a couple, but I want that to get through, because I'm like everybody else. I thought that was fantastic, and the kids report the same thing. Where are we with our parking tickets and what's going on, and income stream and the enforcement?
So the parking enforcement, we're still on a hold. I did talk to our town attorney. Because of that Sixth Circuit Court, I think we're still in a holding pattern. He speak to this, I think, where we're at on that.
So we have a Sixth Circuit, which is not the circuit that we fall under. We're in the Seventh Circuit Court. And I can't believe that this was the holding of this court. But the court came back and said that the marking of tires is an illegal search and therefore unconstitutional. It doesn't fall under my analysis, and when you look at all the case law in the past of what an illegal search is, because an illegal search does not include something that is in plain sight. So chief can go out and conduct a search, and if it's laying out in plain sight, he can take action based upon that. And that's kind of what my thought process is with the marking of tires. Now, what we're looking to see is if other circuits will incorporate that same line of thinking into their own thought process as they look at these, because these cases will come up. Once one circuit has ruled on it, everybody will challenge it down the line to see if they can't get it overturned as well. So the hope is that we get some more consistent rulings with what has happened in the past, and that chalk on a tire is not an illegal search and seizure by the town or by a police department. But that's the biggest issue that we have. The other way is going to have to be determining how to basically monitor parking from there. I mean, the options aren't great. They would be going out and getting meters, which aren't cheap.
Can we take a picture?
Well,
with the timestamp?
I mean, that's the other question is then, are they going to extend the theory of chalk on a tire being an illegal search to taking a photograph being an illegal search? We don't know what that answer is going to be. So we're just kind of monitoring and seeing what the courts do with it.
We're not issuing tickets on the town square.
No, I don't think that we want to be the test for the state of Indiana.
Have you noticed with the lack of enforcement, the abuse of use?
No, actually, my complaints have went down since we're not enforcing parking. Usually, I got a lot of complaints about people getting parking tickets. It's been the opposite from my end.
What about the merchants?
I haven't had any complaints from the merchants.
Really?
I've walked around the square 2 times now, met with all the merchants, see how they're doing, how things are going. And that's not been one of the issues that's been brought up to me. So,
the fingerprinting number 200, is that typical or is that abnormal?
That should be about a normal month for us.
Normal month? What kind of income do we get off of that?
We get a certain percentage goes to the fingerprint company. We get a certain percentage. I wouldn't be able to tell you the numbers right off. But there is a percentage for us and a percentage to the company.
And you use that income for?
So the income goes into different funds. I believe that goes into a training fund that we use for law enforcement continuing education.
And I can get you the exact numbers, Jim, tomorrow.
Okay. Do you see that growing as we move forward?
I think we can find other ways to try to bring in some income, maybe. 200 kind of pushes it for the girls and the guys up front. It's a good stream of income for us to bring in for our law enforcement continuing ed. Education's important for the officers. We've got to find a way to continue to get them educated. Their state mandated training and stuff like that. So if we can stay right there, we're doing okay, but I'd like to bring in just a little bit more maybe. We'll have to take a look at it.
Are we the only fingerprinting facility available in
Brownsburg?
town? I know. Brownsburg got it.
Brownsburg also does it, but it's very limited. So we actually get most of the Hendricks County fingerprints.
Ooh, okay. Questions? Thank you.
Anybody else?
Anything else?
Good job on the canine fundraising.
Thank you. That went well, too.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Fire department.
Year to date, we're at a total of 938 runs for the year. This month, we're already at 85 runs for the month of July. June, We had 163 incidents that we responded to. And the Smokehouse Education Trailer was a big hit at the Family Fest 4th of July event. That was well attended, and kids really enjoyed that. With the fair being this week, the department's going to be very busy in the evenings. I do believe we have an ambulance and or a grass rig at the events every night this week. We had Sunday, total of 6 patients. 3 were transported out of the fairgrounds, and as of today so far, we've only had 1 transport out of the fairgrounds. So that's all I have to report.
Question.
Thank you.
Good job with the camp, too.
Thank you.
Public Works.
We assisted the chamber with the setup and cleanup of the for the Fourth Fest, putting up barricades and such. We're continuing our asphalt patching, of course, mowing town right-of-ways, properties, trying to keep up on that, and we're working on trimming trees above the roads and the sidewalks for taller vehicles and pedestrians, and that's pretty much what I have for now.
Questions about the street? Thank you.
Thank you.
Planning. Any questions? Thank you. Parks.
Bill's on vacation.
Hearing none? Oh, good. Stormwater. Gary.
Gary said he'd be happy to take Will's time.
I can do that.
We know.
I'll make it quick, okay, Mr. Wynn?
Jimmy thing. All right.
He's the new.
So we had, I think I spoke at the last meeting, we had a few sinkholes appear. We have the majority of those repaired as far as putting, repairing the pipe, putting stone in the ground. Now it's up to Public Works to come back and do the cleanup and put some paving down. We do have several projects still on the board to do to complete this year. Some are on East Main Street. We have some at the new development where Wabash Valley Power's going in, the substation. We've got to replace the pipe out front along East Main Street. I met with them today and coordinated with them a time frame of when we could do that so it wouldn't impact Vicary auction. We try to keep them way to get in and out. We also have one on Lincoln Street that's going to be a pretty in-depth repair, and that's partnering with the wastewater department to repair a sewer lateral. And then we also I had 5 single-family residential permits issued for the month of June, but we have like 26 homes under construction currently. So it's quite a bit, but it's kind of slowed down a little bit because we don't have lots to develop. The Tractor Supply, I've been out there several times. They're under roof. They're moving a lot quicker now. The Faith Baptist Church, the state issued a foundation permit only, so they'll be in to pick up that permit. So the Faith Baptist Church on East Main Street will be starting. I'm assuming the building will be starting. The project's already started, but the building will be starting here within the next week. And then we have the pre-con for Woodland, which they mentioned earlier. And then the chiller repairs. I saved the good stuff for last. So the chiller repair, we come to find out that there was a loose wire inside the cabinet over there, and since they've rewired that, it hasn't shut down once. So that's pretty amazing that we've gone on 6 years and it's been intermittent, and they found a loose wire, but I guess it's like finding a needle in a haystack. So that's good news, but the bad news is we still have to replace one of the compressors. And I think I came before the council, and it was like $7,000 to do that repair. We do have, they showed up today to install the hot water circulation pumps for the building. And I just want to reiterate that we do have hot water in the building. It just takes an hour to come out the tap. So we waste a lot of water if we try to get hot water. But those should be in no later than Wednesday morning complete, because they do have to do some repiping. I was able to save $900 on the motor by buying them direct and not going through the company that we hired to do that work. However, that $900 is going to be used because there was 3 leaks that we found inside the boiler room. I'm assuming that's going to be, a wash, but we'll get some other piping repaired, so I'll report on that when it's complete. That's all I have.
Any questions for Barry? Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Around the horn. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I don't have a whole lot, hopefully. I do want to thank the police and fire. They asked me to speak at the graduation ceremony for their camp. I was very honored. It was a neat program. I want to thank Public Works. We had a complaint after the Mayberry car was struck. The crosswalk sign was knocked down along with a one-way sign. When the state came in and put the signs back up, they actually covered the crosswalk with the one-way sign. I called Albie, and he got it changed in no time. So thanks, Albie. Congratulations to the water department. Good job, Jimmy. We did implement our safety committee. We have names now. Now we just have to figure out what they're going to do. So each department's going to identify areas that they want the safety committee to find and investigate. So we're excited about that. If you're unaware, last week I did State of the Danville twice, once for the Chamber of Commerce and once for Rotary. I think it was well received. I had some good questions about some projects, some future projects. I think it opened some eyes. I think people had no idea of what we were doing. So it was a good thing. I still thought my funniest joke was with the State of Danville is Indiana, but nobody else thought it was as funny as I did. We have met with Raised Trash. We're going to start putting recycling containers in the building so that we can start recycling bottles. We're looking at all kinds of things. Finds out that it's not as hard as we thought it was going to be. We don't have to do our own separation. They do it on site. So we're working with them to get some pricing and everything. We did investigate possibly getting rid of our compactor and just going to dumpsters because we're hoping, obviously, to reduce our trash. Turns out the compactor is worth about the scrap metal that it is made of. So there is absolutely, it's like $400 in value. So we're going to try and figure out maybe some alternatives to getting rid of that. Today I signed the agreement for Baumgardner to go ahead and get started on the Stratford project. So we are moving forward. I'd say they'll have a start date at the end of July, would be my guess. They're hoping to be done much quicker than they anticipated. So they're going to move forward aggressively. So we're excited about that. And it's a good thing. I think the people in Stratford are going to be very excited about getting that project fixed. Last thing I have, the interview committee interviewed 6 applicants for fire chief last week, and it was narrowed down to 2. Now I need the council to determine when you would like those 2 candidates to come and interview in front of you. I'm assuming you'd rather do it in an executive session as you've done with other personnel matters. So if you can find a date for me that you'd like to interview those 2 candidates, I can be happy to schedule that and notify those candidates of their dates.
We'll get on that. I'll email if you'll email the council members.
Yes, sir, of course.
For their choices.
Okay.
That'll be great. Our next meeting is August 5th.
We have an extra Monday this month.
Indeed we do. I won't be around on the 29th, though. We'll get everybody scheduled, unless you guys can figure something out now.
You want to do it on a Monday night?
August 5th, prior to the meeting?
Good to me.
Hour interviews, 15-minute break in between, so an hour and 15, hour and a half. Started at 5:30-ish. You could do one at 5:30 and the other one at 6.
Okay.
Or
would you like me to provide dinner for you?
we can feed ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah, the town doesn't need that.
No worries. It would be on me, not the town.
Thank you for your generosity,
Okay.
but no, I think we'll pass.
All right. I will let the candidates know start at 5:30. I'll basically flip a coin to see which candidate gets which time. Go from there. And I would make myself available to any questions.
Any questions? Town manager. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before we get going around the horn, I did skip public comment. Anything from the public tonight? Okay. Jewel, anything for us? Jenny?
Nothing for me.
Tom? I'm sorry, Jim. I'm looking right at you and I called you Tom. Tom?
Call him Jim. Yeah. My name's Jim.
Chris? I have nothing other than the town did very well this month. It was very busy, and we've handled everything nicely. Thank you very much for all your efforts. Claim docket.
Move to approve.
Got a motion for the claim docket. Do I have a second? I have a second.
Who seconded? I'm sorry, I missed the
Tom.
second.
Or Jim.
Anybody.
Anybody. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion to adjourn? So moved. Second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Meeting's adjourned.